have already thanked you, and I will continue to. And I just wanted to share some thoughts. Remember the verse that we started with when we started this journey a year and a half ago? Our theme verse was from Psalm 1:3, like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. And so that's how we came up with roots, reservoirs, and refrains of renewal. I just had a thought cross my mind. You know, when Jesus went away to his friend's house in Bethany or went up into the mountains, I wonder if he felt a little bit like what I feel right now, this sense of ready to go again, of appreciation. Maybe you have been glad to not hear my voice for a little bit. And having another voice like Keith's was a welcome, and the choirs. You know, it's a good thing to take a break. And that's our verse that was our theme when we began to talk and dream, and it's how we came up with the Ark and Sugar Creek and the musicians and the memorial tree to honor people that have gone before us. So that will be some kind of art installation on the wall with names of saints. That it will be the beginning of it. It was 2 years ago when we came up with the idea, and we have an amount of money which we'll be working on. We'll keep you posted. So we began with a going away party, and I wanted to share a text with you today, and let me pull it up. It's based on Philippians. It is Philippians 1, and I don't have it marked. Please forgive me. Philippians 1, here we go. Starting with verse 3, and I'm going to go through verse 11. I thank my God upon every remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine for you, all making requests with joy for your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now, being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you and me will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ, even as it is meet for me to think this of you all, because I have you in my heart, inasmuch as both in my bonds and in the defense of the gospel, confirmation of the gospel, ye are all partakers of my grace. For God is my record, how greatly I long after you all in the bowels of Jesus Christ. And this I pray, that your love may abound yet more and more in knowledge and in all judgment, that ye may approve the things that are excellent, that ye may be sincere and without offense till the day of Christ, being filled with the fruits of righteousness, which are by Jesus Christ unto the glory and praise of God. And the verse that I want to pull out of that is, I thank my God upon every remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine for you all, making requests with joy for your fellowship in the gospel from the first day in 2016 until now. 8 years later. Kind of flew by, huh? I had a really tough time disengaging. I really had a tough time coming to my identity without my jobs. Who was I without my list and things to do to be accomplished? And I had to learn to just be a child of God. Wife, mother, citizen, child of God. And I'm telling you, for the first month, I wanted to call you about everything. Hey, guess what I did? And you may notice I only posted on Facebook the concert. I'm going to post some things now that things are winding down, but I wanted to be present in the moment. But we took over 800 pictures. You're all going to have to look at all of them. Not true, not true. That would get old. How many pictures can you stand of us in front of old buildings? You know? So the first leg of the journey was a drive across the country visiting family. This is my cousin Cheryl. I don't have a lot of family, but this is my cousin Cheryl. And then everywhere we stopped, we did something. I had to plan it. Lily wants you to plan it to the nth degree. We went, and I'll tell you more about this, I'm only hitting the high points, to the National Toy Museum and Miniatures Museum in Kansas City, which was delightful. Nathan rode in his wheelchair everywhere we went, and we wanted to have fun. The wheelchair that Ernie and Charlene gave us was great because he was just not wanting to stand. So here we are in Kansas City. Had some good barbecue, too. First major stop was Estes Park, Rocky Mountain National Park. Anybody been there? So, breathtaking. Okay, so Nathan refused to get out of the van at any national parks, at any stops. So we just said, okay. He is so happy. He loves it, but he did not want to get out. So somebody stayed in the van the whole time. And on those parks, you just drive around and get out and take pictures and look, basically. We did go on a couple of hikes, like 3 minutes into the, and we took shifts. And that is Jeff and Jacob right there. I love that picture. And just some shots from Rocky Mountain. Some moose. There's Bullwinkle. And then we went on to another town in Colorado called Lakewood. I've got a lot of stories about this place. I'll tell them as time goes, but there's a restaurant called Casa Bonita. Anybody been to Casa Bonita? It's a Mexican restaurant, huge, has cliff diving and lots of cheesy things. And it was a blast, and I'll tell my stories because I've got some good ones as time goes, but you'll hear more about Casa Bonita. The reason I wanted to go there is because when I was a 25-year-old youth pastor, we had a national youth gathering in Estes Park, Colorado, and we took the entire crowd to this restaurant. And so I was wanting to relive my young days, but there had been a lot of things happen to this restaurant in the time between, which will be a good sermon at some point, I promise. Then we found in Mesa Verde a roadside inn that had been redone called the Retro Inn, and every room was a different decade, and we stayed in the Star Wars room. And the thing that I really need you guys to know about this right now, I'll be sharing more later, but they had an Elvis statue, and I like Elvis. So, Mesa Verde National Park. Who's been there? Anybody? Oh my gosh, overwhelming. I thought it'd be a couple hours, but we ended up being there for hours driving around and seeing these cliff dwellings. Okay, the people have lived there from the beginning of time. They have evidence of these mud pits they used to live in that were underground. In about 1100, they started building in the cliffs. And this is the biggest one, and about 5,000 people lived there at its height. And so there are these all over the park. There are these towns and apartments, and it was amazing. We were like, just amazing. So that was fun. I got to tell you about Rainbow Acres. Okay, I'm a Baptist nerd. I'm a history nerd. Anybody here ever heard of Rainbow Acres? Just through me? Okay, so ABW used to take up money for Rainbow Acres when I was a little kid. Going to national meetings, I always heard about Rainbow Acres, and Ralph Showers, who was a man who started Rainbow Acres in the 70s, a ranch, a residential place for adults with developmental disabilities to live. And we spent the day there. I didn't take many pictures because I wanted to be in the moment. And I couldn't take pictures of the ranchers without their permission. The adults, I would have to have permission to show you pictures, but I've got calendars over there with their names in it, so proud of this ministry, totally supported by individuals and churches. they don't take any Social Security dollars or waiver dollars. They are faith-based, and a individual can live there their whole lives, and there's even a cemetery for ranchers that die without family. And it was wonderful. And just real quick, let me show you a couple things. They learn a lot. One thing they learn, among other things, is weaving. And one of the ranchers weaved this table, this little thing, and these little coasters. And they do jewelry and a lot of other things. But I have brochures and things for you to look at for Rainbow Acres, which it would be a great mission trip sometime for us. Churches go, and churches that I know have gone, and they have a lodge where you can stay if you're a group. It's hot. Okay, any place that doesn't have a sprinkling system is dirt because we're basically on the desert. Yes? We were going to, but it's really hard. We ended up staying the day there with Nathan, and it's hard for them to make a place for volunteers to work, because we couldn't be outside. So we just decided to take the tour, hang out, visit with and we went to their music class. Maybe it would be a dream for us to take a group and go and do something. It might be manual labor, whatever they need. But there's a church from Seymour, or one of the Southern Indiana churches had been there right before we arrived. And you do a lot of moving rocks and painting and things like that. But they have 80 ranchers. They have the capability of about 120. So they're looking for ranchers that might want to live there. If we ever got to the place where Nathan needed a place like that, he would have to be slightly more independent, because when it's time to go to weaving class, you got to do it and not sit in front of the TV or not listen, and you can't be a flight risk. You can't walk off the campus on your way to the cafeteria. So he would have to learn some things and be some more self-directed. But it's a wonderful place, and God was there. And, of course, the story of Ralph is long, and I will share it in a sermon in the future, who started this. Of course, we spent 2 days in Sedona. Pictures of Sedona do not do it justice. Have you been to Sedona? Pictures just do not do it justice. It's beautiful. A lot of fun sights there. Very spiritual, yes. Yes, we went to the church on the, yeah. Then we made it to Los Angeles to be with our girl. Now, she had to work the week we were there, because the only way she was ever going to get off time enough to go to Britain with us was working. And she's working at UCLA in a cardiac clinic. Rose, you got her started on that journey, and she's met some stars. Kelsey Grammer, Beau Bridges, and the Russian guy in the Rocky movies, what's his name? He came with an entourage. He must be a big deal. And then somebody really famous came in the back door last week, and she didn't get to talk to her. I forget who that was. But anyway, if anybody is in LA and has heart problems, they want to come to UCLA. So she worked during the day. We did fun things with her in the evenings and on 2 weekends. And during the day, she did take one day off and go to Disneyland with us. But this is us at the Academy Awards Museum, standing where they stood for the pictures before the session. And there's a lot. They have these art installations all over town. This is right outside the La Brea Tar Pits and the Academy of Motion Pictures Museum. My kids. There we are at Disneyland. Nathan loved Disneyland, and gosh, we couldn't have made it without that wheelchair, because he just would have stopped and said, I'm not doing anything, and he went on every ride, but he's got something in his head, well, every ride that we were able to get on. Let me just say that. He's got something in his head about Pirates of the Caribbean. He just will not go on that. And the kids are begging him to go because we got to go to the front of the line because Nathan was disabled. What you have to do is you have to do an online interview with the disabled person in the video, the Zoom, with a person at Disneyland before you get there. And if you pass the mustard, you get a lot of benefits. And one of the benefits was getting to go to the front of the line. So if there was something Nathan didn't want to do, the kids were like, come on, Nathan, come on. But if he wasn't with them, they were normal people. So I walked 21,000 steps that day. One of my fears was, would I be able to keep up? And I prayed and I worked and I walked before we went, and still trying to keep that up, to keep my temple going. It wasn't hot, which is another story. Okay, me and my best friend Ann at the Brady Bunch house. So we included in the grant money for my friend Ann to come and help us with Nathan so we could do things with Jake and Em, which we don't get to do. So we did a couple of things with just Jake and Em, and Nathan could have cared less. He doesn't do museums. So Ann helped us, and it was a blast to have my girlfriend from back home. Here we are at Warner Brothers Studio, friend set. Ann was very happy. We went on the Turner Classic Movie Tour. It was a blast. That'll come up in a sermon later. And then on the way home from Arizona, we went purposefully through Winslow, Arizona. Being Eagles fans, I had to stand on the corner in Winslow, Arizona. And it was such a fine sight to see. If you get that, if you're an Eagles fan, they have built a whole tourist attraction around the Eagles and Winslow, Arizona. God was with us. God was with us as God was with you. In the middle of Kansas, we drove into the worst hailstorm I have ever seen in my life that busted our windshield. You can see it, it's still, and put $2,600 worth of dents in our car and took off a piece of the side paneling. The hail was about the size of tennis balls, and I have never experienced anything like that in my life, and just glad that we lived through it. You know, when you're traveling like that, you really are at the mercy of the weather, the other drivers. You know, it's just, we prayed a lot. We prayed a lot. London. Okay, it'll come up in a sermon about the four of us in the middle section and how tight we were in the plane for so long. But we made it to London. The first place we went was Covent Gardens, where Mary Poppins sold violets, and it was fun. It was beautiful. London Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, probably top two of the things that we did was see Romeo and Juliet at the Shakespeare Theatre, done as a Western. They wore Western clothes. It was still the same dialogue. Did they speak with a Western accent? I can't remember. It was really still Shakespeare's words, but everything was Western. And it was very interesting. And that's what it looks like. What the original Globe burned. This was rebuilt. This is not Shakespeare's theater in Stratford-on-Avon. This is his London theater on the Thames. And you could stand your ticket. You could buy a ticket to stand. I'm like, I ain't standing, you know. And we bought tickets to sit. And the roof is open. It's not made of thatch anymore because that was the reason it burned. And there was an amplification. There wasn't. It was dependent on the architecture. So it was quite the experience. Then the kids would say this was number one. I had no desire to see Beyonce, but my young adults begged us, and I thought, you know, when in your life is your kid going to want you to do something like that? And I have to say, she was impressive. She was impressive. 3 hours, no intermission. And the flying car, man, was really impressive. But it was just as impressive to be at the new soccer stadium in Tottenham, right in the middle of a blue-collar neighborhood, and we had to take the subway to get there. I am telling you, if there was anything that Jeff would have rebelled on, it would have been that, I think, because we were so tight on the subway that I got to know my neighbors really well. I am like, Jacob, you okay? Jeff, you okay? Hello, my name's Marie. So everybody was dressed as cowboys, and I said, that was really something. So, and then we got out, thousands, like 60,000 people trying to get back home on the subway. And I said, I will pay whatever it takes to get an Uber or a cab. You know, and we found a taxi. So, which was always an interesting story of what we talked about on long drives. And I carried the banner for the family by maintaining the conversation with all of the Uber drivers and the taxi drivers. They don't have that gift. And so they just listened while I had conversations. And, oh, they were interesting. So, of course, the typical stuff that you see. Westminster was really a spiritual experience. Just really cool. And then we took a night cruise on the Thames, and that's the Tower Bridge and Big Ben at night. And that top right corner is a 1,000-year-old building. It's the oldest tower at the Tower Fortress. When William the Conqueror overcame the Anglos, he set about to... Well, I think they were probably Christian anyway, but he was very Christian. He started building Westminster, and he started building that tower called the White Tower, and there's a church in there. And it is just overwhelming for me to think of a building that was built in the 10th century. It's just overwhelming. So the tower is the number one. I read that it's the number one sightseeing place in the world. I know it's the number one in England. Then we moved to Cambridge. Cambridge is just what you think it is. Village, you think English village. I loved Cambridge. Anybody here watch Grantchester on PBS on Sunday nights? Well, that's set in Cambridgeshire, and it looks just like that. And Cambridge, all the students, nobody can have a car as a student at Cambridge. So there's bikes everywhere. And the streets are narrow, so driving was really scary anyway. But it's just 32 colleges. Each college has its own church, chapel. Very religious, and I'll preach on this in coming days about what that means. And Cambridge was a blast and beautiful. It almost took my number one spot. I got to tell you, they call that the mathematical bridge. Have you seen that, Keith? It's been there since the 1600s, and it's the mathematical bridge because it's an arch, but every piece of wood is straight. So there's a tangent or something. Yes. Yep. It's been repaired and everything, but that's the most photographed thing in Cambridge. Trinity College, probably the most famous. There's our conductor. So once we got to Cambridge, we started our rehearsals with 200 people from around the world, made friends with a group from Canada, a choir from Canada. There was one from Memphis, one from Texas. I can't remember where they all came from, but we were choirless. We were just independent folks joining in on this choral festival. And this is the conductor, maestro, putting us through our paces. That's Jacob right there. Very unhappy. 6 months ago, sure, I'll sing in a choir at Cambridge in Latin with a full orchestra and people from all over the world who are really serious about this. Please let me stop. After the first 3-hour rehearsal, please let me drop out. Please let me drop out. I couldn't function. I said, this is really important to me. I'm not going to tell you what I think. And I don't want you to spoil my special time. So Jeff took over. You are not dropping out. He showed anger for a day and a half, but he really got with the program. God did a work in that young man. By the time we had the experience, he got the picture that this was not something you get to do every day. And it was a really magical time. And I'm really grateful for that. And he has thanked his dad for not letting him quit. Sometimes you do something for somebody else, even if you don't want to. And he did it for me. So this was my dream. Here we are at one of the rehearsal days in Cambridge. There's us with the composer, Dan. Young guy, really nice. There we are at Ely Cathedral. Okay, I got to tell you a little story about Ely, which it'll come out more later. But a Christian Witness was started in 600 in Ely, 600 years after Jesus was born, by a woman named Etheldreda. I have a Christmas ornament of Etheldreda. She was called to become a sister, and she started a monastery there and ministry in 600. Eventually, in about 1000, this building was built and continued through it's medieval. It's actually earlier than medieval. It's really old and breathtaking. And so there's been a Christian Witness on that plot of land since 600. And these are active. I was encouraged. They are active congregations, active in the community, welcoming people from all over the world. They really have the gift of hospitality. And lots of story. There are statues of, if you know anything in English history, when Henry VIII decided he didn't want to be Roman Catholic anymore so he could divorce, he went around destroying all the Roman Catholic stuff. The Catholic was the only thing there was, Christianity-wise, at that time. So there are statues in there that have had their heads chopped off because Henry VIII was mad. And it is a miracle that building is still standing because he smashed so many of them in an effort to get rid of the Catholicism. So this is an Anglican congregation now, which is Episcopalian, Protestant. There we are inside, and literally when I walked in, my breath was taken. It was such a holy place. And a little bit closer. I'll show you where I am in just a minute. But there's Jeff and Jacob singing. That's an answered prayer. Isn't God funny? He put them on the front row. So ironic. Hey, if you have anything to add, please do. And I got to hurry because it's 12. I'm almost to the end of my slides. Okay, I'll show you where my head is. That little gray spot right there is me. I was so covered up, and I was so happy because I was sweating. And I had to sit down at one point because it was so hot. I thought I was going to pass out. But nobody could see me, so they didn't know I was sitting. Yeah, too bad. I'm glad I wasn't on the front row. So, because it had 12 movements, and we only sat like briefly a couple times. And there's Emma. I didn't take any of these pictures. They showed up on the website. Yeah. She was the one she had done this before with ICC, so she was old hat. She could sing the Latin, no problem. I got to tell this story, and I'm almost done. So I'm sitting there getting ready to do the performance, and I hear this guy behind me talking about that he went to Southern Seminary with the conductor. And I turned around and I said, well, I went to Southern Seminary with the conductor. He was in his PhD program, and I was doing MDiv. I said, what years were you there? And he said when he was there, and we started talking about people that we knew, and we came to the conclusion that we both knew this mutual friend called Cliff Davis. And I said, have you ever been to Southport Baptist Church? He said, yes. I think I played in your wedding. I said, I think you played in that string trio at my wedding in 1994. He was there. Jonathan Shippey. Now, he's changed a lot, as I have, but once I saw him and recognized who he was, I could see, okay, you're Jonathan. He played at my wedding. Yeah, that blows my mind. So after the performance, I brought him to Jeff, and I said, hey, Jeff, Jonathan played at our wedding. This is Jonathan. And he was like, you've got to be kidding me. That my family, they feel like everywhere I go, I meet somebody I know.
It's true.
And like the first night I went to get my brother for our trip to New England, the hotel I was staying at was, the front desk was managed by somebody I went to high school with. So, I mean, oh well, it's so. Then we took a train north to Edinburgh. I have a lot of stories about this, but I won't share them today. They'll come up again. Oh my gosh, is all I can say. Edinburgh, let me say it right, Edinburgh is the most beautiful place I've ever been to. And by far our most very, very religious, very spiritual, very just incredible. And Sir Walter Scott Monument and the castle's up on a hill. It's amazing. I'll go quickly, but the view from the castle is, I had been here in 88, when I was with the youth group. And it was my favorite place I've ever been, and I've been to South America twice, I've been to Russia, and Edinburgh was always number one, and it remains number one. And I'll go quickly through these because they're just us on the streets. And okay, we tried haggis. Anybody here ever had haggis? It's kind of like the national dish. It is peasant food. It's what you would eat. You know, growing up in the hills, we didn't leave anything of the cow or the pig. We ate everything. Haggis is a dish made with organ meat, primarily liver, chopped up, and they call it sweetbreads. Not sweet. They chop it up, they put oats in it, they put spices in it, and then they traditionally put it inside the stomach of a pig to steam it and cook it. Now, they don't use the stomachs anymore. They use a silicone container to steam it. And it comes out a little bit like a meatloaf. And they always serve it with mashed potatoes and turnips. And they're tats and toddies, I think is what they call it. We all tried it because we tried a lot of things. It wasn't awful. If I had been raised on it, it would have been fine. If you like liver and onions, you would like it. And I told the waiter, I said, hey, this gets a bad rep. I mean, I wouldn't order it if I had choices, but if it was the only thing I had to eat, I'd eat it. So I've had a haggis, but I'm telling you, the favorite, sticky toffee pudding. Sticky toffee pudding. We tried them everywhere. And it's a date-flavored moist cake with toffee pudding and ice cream or cream. Really good. Sticky toffee pudding. Puddings are desserts in Britain. So I close with our beautiful favorite place as my last slide. Now, I do have another section that I knew I wouldn't have time to do. New England with my brother and going to the First Baptist Church of America was a whole other section of just Newport. If you watch Gilded Age on HBO, I went to Newport and saw all the places that they go to, all the mansions on the ocean, and Plymouth, saw the Mayflower, and Independence Rock, which was kind of disappointing. Just a rock. But it was beautiful right there, Martha's Vineyard, Cape Cod. Really beautiful, but the best part was spending it with my brother. And I have so many stories. There is a movie out called Secret Mall Apartment. I had seen this on the Associated Press website that these college kids had secretly lived in a mall space for 4 years. And a person had done a movie on them, and it's in the theaters right now. And I met those people because they're friends with my nephew, and we went to the movie, and that was really fun and unusual. It's going to be streaming. I'll let you know when it's streaming on Netflix. But they are all artists, and they lived literally under the nose of the security guards in this. There was negative space. It's a round mall, and so there were spaces that nothing was there. And they had to shimmy over some cement blocks to get there, and they managed to get a couch, a china cabinet, TV. Over the course of 4 years, they made it into an apartment. It was really fascinating. Artists. Providence, Rhode Island is the home of Brown University and Rhode Island School of Design, so there's artists everywhere, starving artists. And then I'll have to tell you about the Browns, because part of my mission was to find my people, and I've got a lot to share about that. So anyway, I want to bring this to a close by making sure that I say everything I wanted to say. Yes. Yes. Not in those buildings, no. In the evenings, once the sun is down, it's very comfortable. No. The big stone buildings, they have heat. There's huge radiators, but they're not able to air condition. And quite frankly, there are a lot of buildings in Britain that don't have air conditioning. It's not something they really find necessary. You walk everywhere. Most people don't own a car. People live in neighborhoods where there's a neighborhood grocery store, so you can get everything you need. So anyway, that's going to be a lot of down the road. I've got so much more to share about First Baptist Church of America and stories and what I learned. I missed you guys, but you had it under control. I'm so thankful for you and for Lily. Imagine being able to do this. I would have never done this. This is not anything we would have spent money on. People are good. There are good people in the world. We experience them. The world is much bigger than we realize. I think one of the things I realized early on is, wow, these folks are really smart. God cares just as much about them as he does us. We are not the center of the universe. These people love Jesus. Boy, they worship different. But they really are serious. And they're just like us. They get up and go to work every day and want to love their kids and have their dogs. And this grant allowed me to just actually do something that I might have talked about my whole life and never done. How many times do we not purposefully live? Let's purposefully live. Don't wait until someday, because you wake up 30 years later and someday is too late. So we're going to talk about what you learned. Was God faithful? God was faithful to us, and we are different. We're different people than we were before. Would you say that's true? So thank you. Let's close with our hymn. And I'm here to pray or talk. We can talk after. And we're going to need to give the kitchen folks about 10 minutes to get the food out. And after we sing, and before we are released, I'll pray for the food. Our hymn is Glorify Thy Name, page 29. And yes. Please stay and eat. There's a lot of food. Please stay and eat. Please. And we're going to stand and sing Glorify Thy Name, and then we're going to wait for the nod to come and eat. Please stay. Stuff. If you want to look at Etheldrada, I'll show her to you. Looks just like her. Yes, Adrian. So Charlene and Rose are going to go get us set up, and Ernie and everybody else, if you'd stick around. Adrian wants to share.
This job that I got